Their purpose is to convey the message that everything that is happening around us, the artwork will call your attention and tell you, hey, look at me. And through me, you can find hope. Through me, you can be relieved. And through me, you can feel happiness. Hey, what's up mga kaanakan? Welcome sa panibagong episode na tiyak na kapupulutan nyo ng aral dito lang sa Teacher AJ TV. So para sa episode na ito ay panibagong lesson na naman ang ituturo ko sa inyo mga kaanakan. Pero kung bago ka lang dito sa channel ko ay please do not forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification button para mas lalo ka pang updated sa mga susunod ka pang mga videos. So for today's episode mga kanakan is that I am going to teach you the different elements of art. Ano nga ba itong mga elements of art na ito at paano sila nakatulong sa pagbuo ng mga magagandang masterpiece na nakikita natin sa ngayon? For the learning competency of this lesson, at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to identify the different elements of art. The elements and principles of art are the building blocks or foundation upon which a work of art is created. You will not use all of them all the time, but you may use some of them most of the time. Since time immemorial mga kanakan, art have been in the hearts of the people. They used art to express their emotions. They used art to draw their current situation and to let other people know how they feel. With the presence of these elements of art, these artisans develop a more beautiful, one-of-a-kind creation that he can call a masterpiece. We can find art anywhere mga kanakan, and this what makes it very well known around the world. This question is what we are going to answer in this episode mga kanakan. Why are elements of art important for an artist? The elements of art are sort of like the atoms in that both serve as the building blocks. You know that atoms combine and form other things. Sometimes they will casually make a simple molecule as when hydrogen and oxygen form water. If hydrogen and oxygen take a more aggressive career path and bring carbon along them as a co-worker, together they might form something more complex like molecule of sucrose. Since element of art has been compared to atoms in science, where both of them serve as building blocks mga kanakan, this means to say that without it, okay, without the elements of art, there will be no masterpiece that will be formed. Kasi sa kanila nag-uumpisa ang lahat. Katulad ng sample statement here on screen about the fusion of hydrogen and oxygen. Okay? Kung hindi sila mag-fuse, there will be no creation of H2O molecule which we now call as water. Okay? So, katulad din dito sa kanyang statement here on the screen, mga kanakan. If hydrogen and oxygen take a more aggressive career path and bring carbon along them as a co-worker, together they might form something more complex like a molecule of sucrose, sabi niya. And alam na alam naman natin siguro kung ano yung tinatawag na molecule of sucrose. Okay, para sa mga hindi nakakaalam, allow me to explain it for you. So when we talk about sucrose, it is considered as a disaccharide. It is combined through the fusion of glucose and fructose. Okay? So since disaccharide na siya, kaya siya tinawag na complex. Its chemical formula is C12H22O11. Okay? So, Teacher AJ, ano po ba nga itong sucrose na ito? Ito po, ang example po ng sucrose mga kanakan is the table sugar na madalas po nating makita sa ating bahay, specifically sa ating mga kusina. Okay, so that is another lesson you have learned from me. So the elements of art are important for several reasons, mga kanakan. First and most importantly, a person cannot create art without utilizing at least a few of them. Secondly, knowing what the elements of art are, it enables us to describe what an artist has done, analyze what is going on in a particular piece, and communicate our thoughts and findings using a common language. So ngayon naman mga kanakan is kilalanin natin yung iba't ibang elements of art. Okay, here on your screen you can see line, shape, space, color, value, texture, and form. There are actually 7 elements of art mga kanakan, and one by one we could be able to know or learn more about them. So kung excited na kayo and ready na kayo, then let's proceed. The first thing that we are going to talk about is all about the line, mga kanakan. It is the most basic element of art. Without line, the other elements couldn't exist. So let us start here and then we will gradually go more advanced. A line can be thought of as a moving dot. If the dots overlap, it is called a solid line. If they don't, it's a dotted line. A line has a beginning and an end. Ito na nga ba yung sinasabi ko, wala talagang forever sa mundo. Tignan mo to, may umpisa pero umabot din sa dulo. Okay, kidding aside mga kanakan, it it creates an edge also. So in line, meron po tayong iba't ibang uri when we see a different masterpiece. We have a zigzag line, we have diagonal line, we have a horizontal line, and the last one is the imaginary line. When we talk about zigzag lines, mga kanakan, zigzag lines alter the direction fast and create feelings of unrest, turmoil, or movement. Okay, so kung may nakita kang masterpiece, tapos alam mo na parang wavy ito, then line is present over there, doon sa waves, just like what you can see here on the screen. When we talk about diagonal line naman, mga kanakan, diagonal line gives movement and dynamism to a composition. So mostly siguro ang diagonal line nakikita natin kapag may mga characters or tao na involved sa isang masterpiece. And then, when we talk about the horizontal line, it creates the feeling of stability and calm. Pagiging kalmado lang, okay? That's the horizontal line. And when we talk about the vertical line naman, mga kanakan, it gives the impression of height and strength and often have a virtual or spiritual connotation rather. And lastly, the imaginary lines, it can be called as implied also. For example, a line of sight can be a very strong, albeit visible along with the viewer's eye which it travels. Okay, and also a pointing finger can send the viewer's eye on a journey through the painting. Titingnan nyo yung example natin dito sa screen. Yung babae, okay, ang position niya dito sa lower part and then ang kanyang direction is towards the house. Okay, and by that, you can already draw the what we call imaginary or the implied line. Next element that we are going to discuss is all about the shape, mga kanakan. When a line meets up to an enclosed space, a shape is formed. So shapes can be geometric or organic. Shapes are two-dimensional. They have height and width, but there's no depth in it. So wala siyang lalim. Okay? Kaya hindi natin alam kung ano nga ba talagang itsura niya kasi shape pa lang siya. Not unless mapunta tayo sa form mamaya. Pero mamaya ko pa siya i-discuss, okay? The best way to remember the shape element is to think of an outline. So in shape, we have to consider positive shapes and negative shapes. When we talk about positive shapes, mga kanakan, these are shapes of actual objects. And when we talk about the negative shapes naman, these are the areas between these objects. Kunwari, papansinin nyo yung picture na nandito sa ating screen ngayon. There are two neutral colors there. Meron tayong makikitang black and meron din tayong makikitang white. Okay, so si black and white dito sa first picture, okay, makakakita tayo dito sa black part is parang makakakita tayo ng vase. Okay, a vase-like form image. Okay, so itong vase-like form image, ang tawag sa kanya is the positive shape. Okay? On the other hand, yung spaces beside that, okay, yung nasa gilid niya is what you call the negative shape already. Pero kung papalitan natin yung shade at ilalagay natin yung neutral color na black doon sa gilid niya, makikita natin na makaka-form siya ng dalawang muka. Okay? Now, yung dalawang muka na ngayon are what you call the positive shapes. Okay? Itong positive shapes. And yung nasa gitna na will now become the negative shape. Okay? So, sana malinaw po yun sa inyo. So, the third element that we are going to discuss mga kanakan is the form. Form is the next step up from shape as we now add depth to it to create three-dimensional form, a square or a shape versus a cube, a triangle versus a cone, and etc. Form encloses volume, example the height, width, and as well as the depth. So in drawing and painting, form can only be implied because they are two-dimensional or flat media. Artists must use trick to fool the viewer's eyes so to create the illusion of the third dimension which is the depth, yung lalim nung isang object. Okay? This is known as trompe and it is achieved using tools such as value like shading, color, and the contour lines. So, kung titingnan nyo, yung example natin dito sa screen, okay, here you can see how shading has been used to create the illusion of three-dimensional objects on a flat wall. Okay, si artist, ang ginawa niya, hindi siya kontento na nakapag-draw lang siya ng line and shape dito sa wall na to, but gusto niya na magkaroon ng depth or magkaroon ng three-dimensional drawing dito sa wall na to. So, nilagyan niya to ngayon ng form. And you can see uh, the form through there sa kanyang tinatawag nating contour lines and the color. Okay, meron siyang brownish red color in it na pwede nating makita as the shade. Okay, so katulad nga ng sinabi kanina, it gives an illusion. Okay, medyo mapandin lang siya kasi this painting is like a window or a door na pwede nating buksan. Pero yun pala, hindi. It's just a normal painting. So, ganoon naman talaga sa buhay, mga kanakan, di ba? Akala natin, tama, yun pala, mali. Akala natin, pwede, yun pala, hindi. Di ba? Yung akala mo nga, di ba? Na dapat akala mo kayo na, pero hindi naman pala. So, the fourth element that we are going to discuss is the color, mga kanakan. It is created when light is reflected into the viewer's eye. In art, colors are arranged on a color wheel. The color wheel was developed by Sir Isaac Newton, who took the color spectrum and bent it into circle. Okay, so titingnan natin yung color wheel ngayon. When we talk about color pala, makikita nyo dito na meron tayong tinatawag na primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, mga kanakan. So when we talk about the primary colors, ito po ay sina red, yellow, and blue. So primary colors natin sila. Ngayon, nagkakaroon tayo ng tinatawag na secondary colors kapag itong mga primary colors ay pinaghalo-halo natin. Just like mixing red plus yellow will create orange. Yellow plus blue will create green. And then blue plus red will create a purple. Okay, so nagkaroon na tayo ng 6 colors ngayon kasi meron na tayong primary and then meron na po tayong secondary color. So, kailangan natin ng tertiary color, mga kanakan. This is now when we mix the primary color with one secondary color. Katulad po ni red plus ni orange, pag minix po natin sila, pwede tayong magkaroon ng tinatawag na isa pang kulay. Okay? So, hindi lang natin medyo makita kung ano yung nasa in between ng red and orange ngayon. But what I am sure here is yung orange and yellow. Okay, orange plus yellow color creates amber color. Okay, so yellow and green creates chartreuse color. Okay, and then blue and purple creates violet. So yun po, that concludes the color wheel, or that covers the color wheel. So meron tayong primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. The fifth element that we are going to discuss is the value. It is how light or dark something is. The value of a color depends on how light or dark it is compared to the value scale. Okay, so getting the values right is more important than getting the colors right in the paint. And value is what makes it possible to show three-dimensional forms in a two-dimensional surface. So by increasing the difference in value, mga kanakan, contrast is increased as well. So a highlight will look brighter when surrounded by a dark value. So decreasing contrast will make the object visually recede, okay, into the picture plane and draw less attention. The focal point of a painting is where you want to add the most contrast, as this high contrast automatically draw the viewer's eye. So kung makikita natin dito, from the darkest going to the lightest color. Pero black and white, okay, and also brown are considered as neutral colors. Okay, mga neutral sila. Okay, so usually hindi natin sila kino-consider as a color, but then they are considered as neutral colors. Okay, so let us see. Um, in a if a painting is done on the lower, darker edge of the value scale, it is called a low-key painting. Okay, so low-key paintings give rise to a heavy, mysterious, dramatic, sometimes booting feeling in the viewer. So makikita ninyo dito sa picture or sa painting na nasa gubat yung isang babae. So medyo mysterious and dramatic siya. On the other hand, meron din tayong tinatawag na high-key paintings. Okay, these take their range of values from the upper end of the value scale and create emotions of lightness, quickness, spirituality, and etc. Okay, so yun yung dalawang uri ng value natin when it comes to painting. Meron tayong tinatawag na low key, meron din tayong tinatawag na high key. Okay, so yung isa sobrang dark, sobrang light. Yun lang yung difference nila. Next element that we are going to learn here, mga kanakan, is the texture. It refers to the surface quality in a work of art. We associate textures with the way that things look or feel. Kung paano nga ba natin nakikita yung isang bagay, or paano natin mararamdaman yung isang painting kapag hinawakan natin siya. Dun papasok yung tinatawag nating texture. Everything has some type of texture. We describe things as being rough, smooth, silky, shiny, fuzzy, and so on. Okay, so when we talk about texture, meron tayong tinatawag na tactile texture, and the other one naman is the visual texture. So tactile texture is the tactile quality of a surface such as rough, smooth, sticky, fuzzy, soft, or slick. Okay? Sila rin yung mga tinatawag na real textures, mga kanakan. It's one you can actually feel with your hands, such as a piece of sandpaper, a wet glass, or an animal fur. Okay, balahibo ng hayop. It also can be created by an artist by doing a collage. Okay, katulad nito, yung example natin is the grassed one, and then yung isang example natin is a bark from the tree. Okay? So, on the other hand, the visual texture naman, mga kanakan, is the visual quality of a surface. It is the result from painting or drawing as the real texture. Visual texture is an illusion of texture created by an artist. Paint can be manipulated to give the impression of texture, while the paper surface remains smooth and flat. Okay, so Those are the example of textures, mga kanakan. Okay, mga kanakan, we are now down to our last element for this episode, and that is the space. It refers to the distances or areas around, between, and within the component of a piece. Space can be positive or negative. It can be open or closed, shallow or deep, and two-dimensional or three-dimensional. Sometimes space isn't explicitly presented within a piece, but the illusion of it is. So one good example of this space is this picture, mga kanakan. It is named Christina's World. Okay, that was painted in 1948, and its artist is Andrew Wyatt. He's an American artist from 1917 to 2009. So in his 1948 painting, Christina's World, Andrew Wyatt contrasted the wide spaces of an isolated farmstead with a woman reaching towards it. Okay, so yan po yung isang example ng space na pwede ko pong ibigay sa inyo, mga kanakan. So, what I have learned in this episode. First, the elements of art are the building blocks of art. The following elements of art are line, shape, form, color, value, texture, and space. Okay, so the accomplishment of an artist with its masterpiece depends on how finished or unfinished his or her artwork is. Okay, so sana natutunan nyo rin yung mga bagay na yan dito sa episode natin ngayong araw na to. So here is a simple reminder that you should always remember, mga kanakan, that art is something that makes you breathe with a different kind of happiness. That is according to Anne Albers. She is an American textile artist and a printmaker from 1899 to 1994. So, ano nga po ba ang ibig mong sabihin dito, Teacher AJ? The explanation here is simple, mga kanakan. There are times that when we look at a masterpiece, it gives us the feeling of being at ease. Okay? Nagiging kampante tayo, nagiging kalmado tayo, natutuwa tayo sa image na nakikita natin, nagiging masaya tayo sa artwork na nakikita natin. Though, whatever interpretations we can get from it, mga kanakan. Simply because nakaka-relate tayo sa kanila, nai-interpret nila kung ano yung nararamdaman natin, dun tayo natutuwa. And that is their purpose actually, mga kanakan. Their purpose is to convey the message that everything that is happening around us, the artwork will call your attention and tell you, hey, look at me. And through me, you can find hope. Through me, you can be relieved. And through me, you can feel happiness. So here are the references that I have used to accomplish this video demo lesson for this episode, mga kanakan. And that's it for today's episode, mga kanakan. Kung sa tingin mo ay may bago ka na namang impormasyong natutunan mula sa akin dito sa aking channel, ay please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell para mas umabot pa ito sa mas marami pang kabataan na nais pang matuto. This has been your teacher AJ saying, Happy Learning!